The first week after my mom signed me up was a nightmare. Every morning, I dreaded slipping into the tight black leggings and a snug leotard she insisted I buy. I tried to protest, but her firm, loving gaze made me pause. "Just try it once," she said. "You might surprise yourself." At school, I felt different, off balance in a way I couldn't explain. Even my usual friends noticed. "Why do you look weird today?" one of them whispered, as if I were a stranger. I forced a laugh, brushing it off, but inside, my heart was racing. The thought of them finding out I was now attending ballet classes made my stomach twist with embarrassment. When I got home, I found myself nervously practicing at my desk, imitating the moves I'd seen online. My mom would peek in occasionally, her eyes gleaming. "Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about learning." But each time I tried a simple ply, I felt clumsy, ridiculous, like I was a boy pretending to be someone I wasn't supposed to be. Even small tasks felt amplified. Sitting in the living room in leggings, stretching, trying to mimic a graceful pose, I felt exposed under my own roof. My reflection in the mirror taunted me. It was still me, yet subtly different. My shoulders seemed narrower in the leotard, my hips slightly emphasized, and when I caught myself adjusting the tight material, a strange flush crept over my face. The whispers at school didn't help either. I caught snippets of conversation. "Do you think he actually likes ballet? Or he looks different?" My friends weren't cruel, but the curiosity in their voices made me feel like a specimen under a microscope. I wanted to disappear, but somehow, I also wanted to explore this new attention. At home, things got even more awkward. My mom would leave ballet magazines lying around, or videos of professional performances, her subtle way of encouraging me. At first, I ignored them, but slowly, I found myself staring at the dancers' perfect lines, imagining myself moving like them, their bodies flowing effortlessly. It was maddening. I hated that I was intrigued. By the end of that week, I felt torn between two lives: the safe, familiar world of school and friends, and this strange, fascinating world of ballet, pink slippers, and mirrors that reflected a version of me I barely recognized, but couldn't stop noticing. Every glance in a reflective surface became a test, a reminder that my life had shifted in ways I wasn't ready to admit, not even to myself. It started with a quiet Sunday afternoon, when the house was empty and the world felt mine. I locked my bedroom door and, for the first time, allowed myself to really look at the pink ballet slippers sitting on my desk. I picked them up, feeling the soft leather under my fingertips, and slipped them on. The moment my feet touched the smooth satin inside, something shifted, a thrill that made my heart beat faster. Next came the leggings and leotard. I hesitated, staring at the mirror as if it could judge me. Slowly, I pulled the leggings up, feeling the tight fabric hug my legs, accentuating curves I never really noticed before. Then the leotard, snug against my torso, outlining a shape I didn't fully recognize. I caught my reflection, froze, and a nervous laugh escaped me. What am I doing?" I whispered to myself. But despite the panic, I couldn't look away. I practiced simple stretches, plies, and tendus, watching my reflection in the mirror. My body felt clumsy at first, awkward with the foreign movements, but as I repeated them, I began to notice subtle changes. My posture straightened. My shoulders lifted. There was a delicate grace in the lines I traced with my arms, a rhythm in the sway of my hips I hadn't expected. Curiosity pushed me further. I rummaged through my mom's drawer of makeup, just a little, concealer to even out my skin, mascara to make my eyes pop, a hint of blush that warmed my cheeks. I had never worn makeup before, and the sensation of it against my skin made me acutely aware of every inch of my face. My reflection looked different. Softer. Somehow more alive. The most surprising moment came when I experimented with my voice. I hummed along to a ballet video, trying to imitate the light, airy tone of the instructor's voice. I sounded ridiculous at first, my normal deep tones clashing with the delicate pitch I attempted. But each repetition felt easier, more natural. I caught myself smiling in the mirror, realizing that this version of me, fragile, feminine, playful, wasn't entirely fake. It felt right, in a way I hadn't known I could feel. I even tried a bun. Struggling with my hair, pulling it tight at the back of my head, I noticed my jaw tighten and my pulse quicken. It felt almost ceremonial, as if each strand I tucked into place brought me closer to someone I was too shy to meet outside these walls. Standing there, in my private sanctuary, the sunlight spilling through the blinds, I let myself twirl. Slowly at first, then faster, the slippers gliding over the floor, my heart soaring with a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. At some point, I realized I wasn't just experimenting anymore, I was exploring. Each movement, each glance in the mirror, each brush of fabric against my skin, was a secret conversation with myself. A whisper that maybe, just maybe, this side of me had always been waiting, hidden beneath layers of routine and fear. By the time I peeled off the leotard and slippers hours later, my face was flushed, and my body tired in a completely new way. But underneath that exhaustion was a spark, an undeniable curiosity that refused to be ignored. For the first time, I didn't feel like the boy who had laughed nervously at my mom's suggestion. I felt like someone in the middle of discovering a hidden world, someone who was beginning to understand the thrill of stepping into it. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling and couldn't stop thinking about my reflection. The blush on my cheeks, the delicate arch of my foot in the slipper, the subtle sway of my hips, it all lingered in my mind like a secret melody. And I realized that what had started as something forced by my mom had become mine. A private discovery, an intimate adventure, a feeling I wasn't ready to share, but couldn't wait to explore again. The following weekend, I decided it was time to step out of my bedroom and into the world, carefully, cautiously, but undeniably. My mom had suggested attending a beginner's ballet workshop in the city, claiming it would be good for confidence and meeting other dancers. My stomach twisted at the thought, but secretly, I couldn't wait to try it. I dressed carefully, picking a soft pastel leotard and matching skirt, tights pulled snugly over my legs, and of course, the pink slippers. My reflection in the hallway mirror startled me at first. The face looking back was familiar, but softer, more expressive. My hair, now pinned into a neat bun, framed my features in a way that made me feel lighter, almost delicate. My pulse raced as I took a deep breath. The walk to the studio felt surreal. Every step in the slippers made me hyper-aware of the click and glide of my feet against the pavement. Strangers' glances prickled my skin. Some curious, some indifferent, and some that lingered just long enough to make me question my courage. I kept my eyes down at first, but gradually, I found myself walking taller, shoulders back, hips moving with a subtle rhythm I had practiced alone. When I arrived at the studio, the other students were already stretching, nimble bodies moving with an effortless grace I envied. I froze for a second, doubting myself. But then the instructor noticed me and offered a warm smile. "You're new. Don't worry, just follow along and enjoy yourself." That tiny reassurance did wonders. The first steps were awkward. My arms flailed, my feet stumbled over the unfamiliar positions, and I felt all eyes on me. But as the music played, I began to find a rhythm. The stretches felt natural, the spins slowly smoother. The mirrors that once felt intimidating now reflected a version of me moving with a tentative grace. I caught myself smiling, a genuine thrill bubbling inside that I couldn't hide. A small victory came when a fellow student complimented me. "You're picking it up really quickly," she said, her voice kind. I felt my face flush, but a surge of pride replaced my earlier embarrassment. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just about ballet. It was about me discovering a confidence that had been buried under years of self-doubt and hesitation. By the end of the workshop, I had even dared a small pirouette. It wasn't perfect, not by any means, but it was mine. The instructor clapped softly, and I felt a thrill that coursed through my entire body. For the first time, I could see that this new side of me, feminine, graceful, exposed, wasn't something to hide. It was something to nurture. Even outside the studio, the change lingered. Walking back home, I noticed small things. The way my hips swayed a little more confidently, how my shoulders carried a subtle elegance, how my fingers brushed against the fabric of my skirt without self-consciousness. Each movement felt deliberate, yet natural, as if my body had been learning a language I had never been taught. By the time I stepped through the front door, I felt different, not entirely, not magically, but subtly, irrevocably. The reflection in the hallway mirror smiled back at me, softer, confident, and a little proud. Ballet wasn't just an activity anymore, it was a doorway. A gateway to exploring who I could be, who I wanted to be, and the joy of finally allowing myself to feel that. That night, lying in bed, I realized I was looking forward to the next class, the next outing, the next small victory. The thrill of secret transformation had begun to blend with public courage, and a small, daring part of me whispered, "This is only the beginning." It happened on a Thursday afternoon, just when I thought I had a handle on things. My mom had encouraged me to attend a small recital at the studio, a showcase for beginners. I was nervous, but also eager to see how far I had come. I dressed carefully, pastel leotard, matching skirt, tights, and the trusty pink slippers. My reflection in the mirror was confident, well, as confident as I could manage, but my heart was racing with anticipation. The recital room was buzzing with parents, instructors, and students. I felt exposed the moment I stepped inside. My classmates greeted me warmly, but I could feel their eyes measuring me, analyzing every step I took. Every movement I made felt amplified, every small misstep a potential spectacle. I tried to keep my focus on the routine, but anxiety gnawed at me. Then it happened. My phone buzzed. I had forgotten it on the bench, and one of my friends from school, my best friend, actually, was standing there, staring straight at me. I froze. My mind screamed. No. Not them. Not here. They can't see this. But it was too late. Their eyes widened in surprise, and I felt the room narrow. The whispers started, quiet at first, then growing louder. "Is that him?" I could hear fragments, my worst fear materializing in real time. My stomach twisted, a flood of shame and panic washing over me. I retreated mentally, questioning everything. Was this who I really wanted to be? Or was this a mistake forced by my mom, a fleeting curiosity that had led me straight into humiliation? I felt the old version of myself clawing to take over, desperate to hide, to retreat, to erase these past weeks of transformation. But then I looked at my reflection in the studio mirror. The lines of my body, the grace of my movement, the spark in my eyes, they all told a different story. This version of me wasn't fake. It wasn't an act. It was real. And it was mine. Heart pounding, I made a choice. I straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin, and continued the routine. Every step, every ply, every spin became a declaration. I would not shrink. I would not hide. I owned this moment, even if others didn't understand it. By the end of the routine, the whispers had softened, replaced by applause. Some eyes were still wide with surprise, but many were smiling, nodding, encouraging. My best friend approached afterward, hesitating at first, then offering a small, awkward smile. You're really good," they admitted. I nodded, a mixture of relief and pride flooding me. That day, I realized the truth. Fear of exposure was real, but it didn't define me. I could be seen, judged, laughed at, and still stand tall, still own who I was becoming. The choice was mine, hide in shame, or embrace the transformation fully. And for the first time, I felt like I could do the latter. After that recital, something inside me shifted permanently. The fear that had gripped me in the studio never fully disappeared, but it became a quiet whisper rather than a roaring storm. I started looking forward to classes not just as a challenge or a secret, but as a space where I could truly explore who I was becoming. At home, my mom noticed the difference immediately. She smiled knowingly when she saw me walk into the kitchen in my leotard under my hoodie, practicing movements quietly in the living room. "You're finding your rhythm," she said, and it wasn't just about ballet. Her words carried encouragement, pride, and an unspoken acceptance that made my chest feel light. I began to experiment more openly. Small trips to the park in my dance clothes, stretching in public with confidence, even attending casual meetups with other beginners in skirts and tights. Each experience strengthened a sense of self I hadn't known I could have. The thrill of being seen, really seen, without shame was addictive. Even at school, things slowly began to change. Some classmates whispered, yes, but many started treating me with curiosity rather than judgment. I realized I didn't have to explain, justify, or hide. My confidence was magnetic, it drew people in. When my best friend finally asked more about ballet and my new hobby, I shied cautiously at first, then openly. Their surprised but supportive reaction became a small but meaningful victory. The studio became more than a place for practice. It was a sanctuary, a stage where I could embody the grace, femininity, and confidence I'd been discovering in private. Each pirouette, every delicate tendu, every elegant stretch was an affirmation. I belonged in this world, and I belonged in my own skin. At home, mirrors no longer intimidated me, they celebrated me. The pink slippers, once symbols of something forced, had transformed into emblems of courage, growth, and self-expression. I had learned to move with intention, speak with confidence, and embrace a side of myself I never thought I would dare to explore. Looking back, I realized the forced beginnings, the initial embarrassment, the awkwardness, the secret practice, had all been essential. They had led me to discover a version of myself that was stronger, braver, and more authentic. For the first time, I felt fully empowered, capable of standing tall in any room, in any clothes, in any form of myself. Ballet was no longer just a class. It was a journey, a mirror reflecting not only my body, but my courage, my curiosity, and the joy of stepping boldly into my own identity. And in that reflection, I finally saw someone I could be proud of, someone real, confident, and unapologetically me. Looking back, I realize how far I've come, from a nervous, reluctant kid forced into pink slippers, to someone who now moves with grace, confidence, and joy. The journey wasn't just about ballet, it was about discovering a side of myself I never knew existed, embracing it, and refusing to hide. Every stumble, every awkward glance, every whispered comment became part of the process, shaping me into someone stronger and more authentic. I've learned that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's stepping forward despite it, and allowing yourself to be seen, truly seen. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't just see a dancer. I see someone proud, empowered, and unapologetically me.